Hi all again, welcome to another little blog of mine in the bespoke world. A little glimpse into what we actually do here. So, I'm just finishing off the sleeve now. You can see, do you remember I was clearing out the front on the edge and I was putting a basting stitch to hold the canvas inside. So we go inside now. The next stage, you have to tack all around the lining, and I tack it again twice so the lining doesn't move while I'm actually working on the next stage of the sleeve, inserting the sleeve. Now, once the sleeve lining is basted around the armhole, the next thing we do now, I've already started it. You can see what I've done. I'm just going to quickly show you now. We go on this seam inside here. This is the seam of the sleeve there. And then we just go inside the seam and I double thread my basting thread. Some tailors don't, they have a single thread, but I double thread mine. And then we actually do what we call a stab stitch, and when we just have to come back just within that seam, and this is what we do. So I'm just going to just place that through there. It's a bit difficult filming and trying to stitch at the same time, right? And then see the seam here? This is the sleeve seam. It's 1 centimetre. So within that seam, I just come barely forward, and then I've got to come back. Can you see that now? And then I just stab stitch it. So I bring that through. Then I'll come back. I don't really measure it. It could be just under ½ inch forward, and I come back on the other side, just within that seam on the other side. And this is done all the way around, and this actually holds the lining in place within that seam. So I'll just do a couple more for you. I don't want to bore you, everybody. So just make sure it's not within that seam. It's fine. There we go. And that's going to go all the way around the lining, and that actually holds the lining in place. And also that's a guide, because afterwards this is all trimmed off. You see all this excess now, this lining, canvas. Sometimes we'll leave the canvas in, they'll trim all this now. So you get a nice flush seam line of the shoulder of the actual sleeve. So all this excess canvas I've already trimmed off. But now I'll trim this excess lining off. You can see all this excess there. And that will be flush again with the seam of the actual sleeve. And then, so that stitch here will go all around, and that will hold that whole lining in place. And then when we put the lining on afterwards, the lining will just go past that. It will be your guide to where you put the lining, and then, because remember that's a seam, so the line will just barely go past that seam. It will hide these stitches. These stitches are permanent, holds the whole lining of the armhole in place, you see, and all this excess is trimmed off afterwards. Now, in my next stage, I'm going to show you. I'm going to put the sleeve roll in. So on the next stage, I'll show you that, a little glimpse into that. So ciao for now, see you later.